And we are alive, everyone. Hello, America. Doors are wide open and we're ready for you to come virtually in and be a part of the conversation with us tonight. Thank you for joining us here at Gay Town Hall, where we're bringing LGBTQ voices into the discussion and debate and advertising all of you. With America's most diverse group of personalities from the LGBTQ community in history, I am your moderator, David Quiñones. I'm also known as the Social Club Butterfly. I serve as the executive director of my own personal nonprofit organization, GVSC Gay Vista Social Club, here building friendships across South Florida, as well as the director of community and business outreach here at Happening Out Television Network, because if it's happening in the LGBTQ world, it is happening out. We here at Gay Town Hall would like for you to share and join the conversation with us live every Thursday night at 8 p.m. with us as we broadcast you live on Facebook, YouTube, and coming soon to LinkedIn. Let's get tonight's discussion and debate started, America, here on Thursday, February 4th. Welcome, everyone, to Gay Town Hall. All right, so I am thrilled to welcome Gay Town Hall's lead host for tonight's conversation. He is a current resident of Fort Lauderdale and was first introduced to the leather lifestyle at the Baltimore Eagle. He is one of the founders and current president of Onyx Deep South chapter and has won the title of Mr. Ramrod 2018 and placed in the top 20 at the International Mr. Leather 2019 in Chicago. His love of leather has grown over the 20 years he has been in and out of the leather and kink lifestyle, identifying as a pansexual and a dominant top. Everybody take note at home. With his kinks are impact, wax, toy, sensory, and mummification play. He truly believes every person has a right to participate and belong within this community, and he works to ensure safe spaces are available and creates educational and empowerment activities for people of color as well. His ultimate goal is to provide a kinky experience for anyone who is willing to learn and open to the experience, as leather and kink should know. There are no limits. So before I bring out our lead host, his worst attributes are he is very critical of himself, and his best attribute is he is an advocate for social justice and equality. Let's please welcome here to Gay Town Hall our sex-positive leather pansexual, Elimination Onyx. Hey, Elimination, hey.
Hey, David, how are you, superstar? Hey, kinky humans, how is the world doing today?
Well, I'm doing well. So I hear all this about, letting people experience the leather and kinky side. What could I possibly have to learn about from you?
Well, you know what, David? I would love to show you the wonderfulness that is the world of kinky. I would love to bring you into my world and show you how beautiful it is to be able to be authentic, truly self, to let go all those barriers, to have a moment and be free to just be you. Because you can find when you go to that space and let go of the world and truly enjoy what it is to be a sexual being, the world just opens up. And mind you, I'm a great teacher.
Well, I'm sure we got some really great students here with us tonight. So before we jump in, tell us a little bit about what's on your mind for this week.
So I am so happy to say, again, kinky humans, that February is Black History Month. And let's take a moment. And what's on my mind this week is to kind of give you a little education on what that's the foundation of what Black history is. So Black history was started by Dr. Carter G. Woodson, a graduate of Harvard University. The brainchild started in 1915, but it became official in 1926. And it took 50 years for the world, for the presidents to recognize Black History Month. It started out as just 1 week, Negro History Week. And if anyone says, well, why do we have the shortest month? Well, let me tell you why it was the shortest month. Because during the 1915 to 1926, Carter G. Woodson looked at the two people who inspired him, who was Abraham Lincoln and Frederick Douglass. And those two individuals who have birthdays in the month of February. And so he thought it would be good during that time to honor those people. Let me tell you a little secret. During that time, Black folks were Republicans and often celebrated the birthdays of both Lincoln and Douglass. And between the 50s to the 20s to the 50s, a month celebration began. But it wasn't for 50 years till President Ford said, yes, we must acknowledge this. We must recognize this. So what's on my mind this week is the celebration of Black History Month.
All right, well said. So now we're going to go ahead and meet the rest of tonight's hosts that make up our top voices of the week. So it's time to kick off Gay Town Hall the way that we always do here at Gay Town Hall, and we're going to find out what is on your mind. So each of our hosts will express what's on their mind today and tell us about it, good or bad, in just 30 seconds. Just 30 seconds. And in honor of Elimination and Black History Month, we want you to tell us who is your favorite Black History connection, or what is your historical moment that you remembered that turned and changed history. So up first, we are going to bring to the virtual stage. We have a double trouble situation here. She is our feminine lesbian with big D energy, and she's partnered up here with the real houseboy of Fort Lauderdale. Let's please welcome Miss Amber Taylor and Corey Gordon to the stage. Hey, Amber. Hey, Corey.
Welcome, Amber. Welcome, Corey. Amber, you're on mute.
Oh, they're on mute.
We can't hear you.
We can't hear you.
There you go.
Oh, wait, now we're here.
How you guys doing?
Oh, hey.
Are we unmuted?
To what do we
How did y'all know?
To what do we owe this?
Wait,
To what do we owe this double the pleasure, double the fun?
unmuted.
Hi, we're tonight. Now,
All right, so tell us what's on your mind for today.
yeah. I mean, it's your pleasure, your fun. We're here for you tonight on Gay Town Hall.
Threesome action right now.
Stop, Corey. No, I'm totally. What's on my mind is Black divas all day, all night, every day of my life. Aretha Franklin, Donna Summer, Tina Turner. I'm thinking about those Black divas. Are you? Are you guys? Does Mariah Carey count as a Black diva to you because she's only half Black? I want to hear the argument tonight. I think it counts and you guys should stop. But, you know, people have arguments about that. I can't believe it. So tell me about what your thoughts are. Definitely drop a comment below. We want to hear from you. That gives us fire in our argument tonight. What do you think, Corey?
I think a lot of Black divas are underestimated. What's my favorite Black diva again?
What is your favorite Black diva?
I forgot what her
Donna
name.
Summer.
Even though I do love Donna Summers, don't get me wrong. But I forgot. I'll think about the Black diva, my favorite one, and I'll come back to you guys.
On the street at night, picking up all kind of strangers if the price is right. You can stop if you pass by.
All right. Well, thank you, Amber and Corey. We're having a little bit of technical difficulties, but we're gonna push through it.
What's on my mind tonight is just stability as freedom of speech. Right now, freedom of speech is being under attack. A lot of people don't think freedom of speech is being under attack just because they agree with the people that are silencing other people. But it is extremely very important just to protect the freedom of speech right of your enemies. Because if they go after your enemies, right?
Okay.
All right. So up next, we are going to bring to the stage our two-spirit gay Native American, Houston Cypress. Hey, Houston. Hey.
Hey, Houston.
Hey, how's it going, friends and family? Broadcasting from the Greater Everglades, which is the homeland of Miccosukee and Seminole people. Hey,
Hey.
what's on my mind? What's on your mind? Like, what are you doing? Like, what are you doing from the environment? What are you doing from Mother Earth? Well, I got you. This is your invitation to join me at this direct action this weekend. There's lots of ways you can do it, but it's for Lake Okeechobee here in the Everglades, and it's an indigenous-led direct action where we stand up for Mother Earth. So come through. I got you. I love you. Let's move on.
All right. Thank you so much. Up next, we have our actor and drama queen, Rossaroni Paris. Hey, Ross. Hey.
Hey, Ross. Hey.
Hi. Good morning. What's on my mind is my boss now refers to Gay Town Hall as gangbang, so there's that. I am absolutely obsessed with WandaVision. It's a totally new way of making a TV show and telling a story. Thank you. I am done.
And do you have an iconic moment in history that you remember that really changed history, or an iconic Black history connection?
Harriet Tubman. She rescued all those people.
Amen. Thank you, Ross.
Right.
Yes.
In a few words. Ross. Sorry, kids.
Got it. Man of many words. Up next, we got our progressive college English professor. We got Dr. Ty Hauser. Hey, Ty. Hey.
Hey, girls. Hey. How are we? So first thing right out the gate is the Marjorie Taylor Greene sanctions that were just announced. She's been stripped of all her posts in the House, so go on. And then the second thing is we saw a great historical event happen just this week when we had our vice president swear in our transportation secretary, two of the firsts of their titles to represent all of us in the U.S. government. So I'm pretty stoked about that.
All right. And do you have an iconic moment that you remember, either Black history or just from history, that really changed the page?
That's just today.
So today's?
Yeah.
All right. Sounds good. Up next, we got our Asian gay pop star, Randy Boo. Hey, Randy. Hey.
Hi, guys.
Hey, Randy looks great in that leather.
Did you get all dressed up for Elimination?
I did. I want to learn some whipping or something. I don't know. I want to learn about the fetish world. Just kidding.
I got a good toy for you. I can show you.
All right.
Oh my God.
What's on my mind this week is I mean, not only it's Black History Month, it's also the month of love. But Valentine is coming up. David is having his charity with a Love-in-a-thon. So you guys tune into that. Make sure you guys watch it.
All right. And do you have an iconic Black history connection or moment in history that for you really changed the world?
I think it was when Obama became the president. That was one thing that was really made me like, wow, the world is changing, something for the better. But one step at a time.
One step at a time. Yes.
One step at a time.
All righty. And finally, we got our queer community builder and transformative healer giving us looks and looks. Let's welcome Taisha Bess. Hey, Taisha.
Hey, everyone. Welcome aboard. So what's on my mind? Shout out to Regina King, who got nominated for Best Director of Golden Globes. So another Black woman taking the mantle, pushing it forward after Ava. And then I would say the most historical moment for me in Black history would be that changed my life and I think changed the scope of the world would be the Ferguson protest that spurned
Gonna be one of those nights.
Not to be confused with the Al Ferguson protest.
He is fabulous.
But Taisha, you look fabulous.
Waiting for Fabulous to come back.
Taisha, you
Oh wait,
frozen.
Taisha's back. All right, finish your thought, Taisha.
Finish about
was
Ferguson, please.
my video not working?
You got
Okay.
cut off. You got cut off.
Okay.
We heard
Okay,
Regina King. We heard Regina
Start
King.
from the top. Let's introduce her
Regina
again.
King, and then the most iconic, game-changing moment that I experienced myself that changed me, and I think changed the scope of this country, was the Ferguson protest, which created and inevitably led to the Black Lives Matter movement, which also got nominated for a Nobel Peace Prize this year.
That's right.
All right. And do you have any moment in history, either Black history or just historical, that you remember that really changed the way the world was going at that time?
The Ferguson riot, the Black Lives Matter, the Black Lives Matter being nominated for a Nobel Peace Prize is pretty much a representation that protesting, even peacefully, matters, and protesting for justice matters. And the world watched, and the world also participated. The Black Lives Matter movement over the past 2 years also spurred other worldwide protests against inequality and racism. So, yeah, we're going to keep doing it.
Yes.
All right, well said. So, despite the technical issues, which is our extra host tonight, let's give a round of applause.
So weird.
Let's give a round of applause. And look how beautiful Amber and Corey look just sitting there. They look so nice. All right, so they're frozen. Let it go. All right, so here on Gay Town Hall, you can have questions, and we definitely want to hear and see your answers. We want you, our social media view and audience, to let your voice be heard and weigh in on what we're talking about. So this is time for us to do our weekly Gay Town poll. So all of our hosts have casted their votes in already. For our viewers watching, make sure you cast your votes in. Click on the link that's posted in tonight's episode and submit your answer. Later on, before the end of the show, we will share the results visually on the screen and see which one was the winner. So make sure to cast your votes in right now. So tonight's Gay Town poll is: who do you consider the most important Black leader and American hero today? So the choices are Afeni Shakner, Barack Obama, Frederick Douglass, Malcolm X, Martin Luther King Jr., Hillis Wheatley, Rosa Parks, Ta-Nehisi Coates, Thurgood Marshall, and Zora Neale Hurston. So really quick, guys, what do you think is going to pull out as the number one in the poll?
MLK.
Yep.
I think that's a great iconic opportunity. I think there's so many wonderful other humans that are listed on that list. Martin Luther King was a great example of, as Taisha shared with us, peacefully making the world change. And that's also considered how MLK, towards the end of his life, looked for not only Black people, but he supported poor people, humans in general. So I think that's a very good suggestion. But I think there's someone else that this might come out ahead. I'll share things mine till later.
That's right. MLK not only showed up and walked, but like he had the talk, he had the concept, he had the education, he had the analysis. And that's a great thing that, like, aside from the incredible societal change that he created, that he also had this enduring legacy of the philosophy behind his words. So put those words into action and embrace and love each other to the best of your integrity.
All right, well said. So let's see at the end of the night who pulls through and if Martin Luther King is going to be number one. So let's keep the show on a roll. So today's LGBT topics of the week deal with the ideals of Black History Month and with the powers of sight, sound, and touch. So let's jump right into our first topic of the night. First one is lifestyle and cultural, and this is about the power of sight. Representation does matter. And with that said, I'm going to bring our lead host to the screen, Elimination, to tell us a little bit about representation and why it matters. So Elimination, take it away.
So David, first I want to give you props and thank you for helping, guide me. And it's my Black power. I had so much I wanted to share and helping me narrow it down. So to me, representation matters, means a lot, because if you look at the world, a lot of people like me was never included. The forefathers who built the principles of this country didn't include Black folks. They didn't include women. We were never part of their mindset for safety, for humanizing, for our liberties, for our education. Moving even further into our moving out of slavery and into trying to exist. There's a wonderful movie called Lost Boundaries, in which an educated Black doctor had to fight with, does he pass to utilize his knowledge, a Black doctor, from an accredited university. He had to try to fit in and hide who he really was in order to be productive members of society. I think that's a problem. Look, now let's move closer to today. Our labor, our minds is being used, but how often are we posted on advertisements? How often are we included in marketing materials? How often are people considering us for our worth and our labor? Because at the end of the day, does Black lives really matter? What are the accomplishments that come from the world who don't realize who we are? Why are we allowing the world to kill us? Why is it okay? Consider the arts. Over 1/4 of the coverage that we see in media and the news is either racist, sexist, stereotypical, heterosexual male point of view. What's the problem? Where does representation start? Where does representation start? How do we all include it? And I know our guests are wondering, well, how can we bring that back to the LGBTQ? Well, I got you. Because here in Miami, there was a recent big discussion because the pride flag that one of the posted for the month of June was adding the new flag that included Black and brown folks and our trans siblings. And people still have problems with that. Why are we having problems with not including the diverse part of our community? Because we can still have pride and still include our brothers. So my host, I tell you, does representation matter?
Yes, tell it.
All right, so we're laying it out there. Representation, and why does it matter? So who would like to kick this off?
You know, I think it's really important that representation matters because, like my brother Elimination was saying, like we are standing on the shoulders of giants, and we have to honor that legacy. So, like, we got to show up for each other and with each other and stand with each other. So, like, I'm with it. Like, we got to show up.
Yeah, I feel like representation is important because, you know, different cultures, different countries, you know, we got to represent where we come from and what we do and how we grew up, how we were raised, so people can learn different side of lifestyle and how they can actually learn and open up their minds and not actually judge people for their differences and what they look like or what their sexuality is or whatnot. So I feel like representing ourselves is very important.
Yeah, I agree. Representation to me also means those who I feel elevate and empower the ethics and morals that I stand by as a Black queer person, let alone a Black person, or whatever demographic that I'm representing, especially those from oppressed or marginalized populaces. To see someone on like a TV screen or reading the pages of a book they wrote that exemplify or exude who I am now or who I want to be in the future is very important. They are laying the brickwork and the groundwork for me to be able to walk that path and continue creating that pathway so that others behind me can also walk behind me and have it easier than I did.
Amen.
Yes, love it.
And I'm glad that you mentioned that because, again, that's why it's so important that we consider that flag to show that we all can represent each other in pride and knowing that although we want all of us to come together, if we all had that in common and we're prideful of who we are as humans, why we cannot include our siblings? Why does there have to be a debate that it's about a political thing where it's really not? Because ultimately we can have pride, but when we go to the clubs, how many advertisements show us? How many DJs show us? How many of our performers show us? That's where my concern is, and I would love to hear how, you know, we even noticed that when the Black Lives Matter was going hard in the summer, how many of our clubs didn't even take a stand and say, you know what, I stand in solidarity. I want you to know that you have a safe space here in this club. If we're the gayest town in America, what say you?
Tell it, Elimination. Tell it.
I'm curious. So like Ratsaroni or Ty, from an educational standpoint, or like, you know, from an entertainment actor standpoint, how important, you know, is it having representation? Whether it's, you know, like a Black cast or a Latinx cast or an LGBT, like how important is having that?
Well, it depends on the show. I mean, you're talking from a musical standpoint. You have some shows that are specifically you have to be a certain color to be able to play a certain part, like the Hairspray. You know, you can't do a Hairspray without Black people. That'd be crazy. Huh?
I like girl.
Oh, thank you. And I find it very important to have some just the diverse people in general. I don't like going to see shows and seeing a uniform cast where they all look the same. So yeah, I think it's important, and it really contributes to the art of the piece. Oh, take Cinderella for example with Brandy and Whitney Houston now just back on Disney Plus. But I as a kid growing up watching that, I was like, this is a brilliant cast, and it has nothing to do with the color of the skin. It's to do with their talent and how beautiful they all are. And there was like there was a black queen, a white guy, and they came up with a Filipino kid. Like
it's so amazing. It's
how
so
did that happen? Didn't matter in my eyes.
Even with the Little Mermaid, there was a whole controversy about the new Little Mermaid.
Oh my God!
Yeah,
ridiculous. Oh, but did you guys? Okay, wait. If you get a chance, look up her name, Halle Bailey. So if you find her on YouTube, she did a very short cover of Unforgettable. Everything about that performance is Ariel.
Yes,
absolutely everything. She carries herself. Yes. And I've seen plenty of girls who look like the cartoon, but they don't carry themselves like Ariel at all. Like she's such a good singer. Holy shit! I mean, holy poop.
Dr. Ty.
So Ty, the importance of representation. Do you think it's being talked about in schools? Is it being taught to the next generation? Like, how is it and why is it so important?
I mean, I'm not sure who's talking about it and who's not, but I know that kind of as educators, we're constantly involved in conversations around having the right leaders look like our student body. Taisha hit the nail on the head when they were talking about having positive role models to look up to, and that representation, the people that we see in our community that are succeeding and that are being celebrated, they need to look like us in all of our wonderful diversity.
Take notes.
Yes.
Well said. Any final thoughts, or we can elimination based on the conversation? What are your final thoughts on the? I think we lost Amber again with the technical difficulties. But
I love the conversation, and I actually want to sum up a very, very important point that Dr. Hauser said is that when we go into classrooms, please ensure that the educators are teaching well-rounded information. Don't teach about the civilization, and don't teach about those who built the country. We have to inform and educate. And additionally, when you walk into a classroom building, make sure that the artwork shows a diverse population. Don't make sure that certain populations are left out. And then finally, to my LGBTQI people, when we look at the pride flag, and I'm going back to this because I want to bring it back home to us as our community. Think about when that pride flag was identified and how many marginalized people was welcomed into those spaces. So you cannot say that the pride flag was built on pride for everyone when everyone was not included in those spaces. Black folks were not included. Women were not included. Trans siblings were not included. So I ask you, push back on those who said the pride flag means if everyone wasn't built for that flag. Thank you.
Yeah.
Aisha, can we get a fan? Can we get a fan clap? Can we?
Yes,
All right. So I know we barely touched and grazed the surface of this topic on representation. However, if you're following us on social media, feel free to reach out to any of our hosts and continue the conversation through our comments, through messages and such. So thank you so much for that. So now we're going to move on to our next segment. We're going to have a little bit of fun. Our next segment provides us with a few laughs, even some good side commentary. If it's happening in the news, if it's hot off the press, and being out is now the new in, then this is our happening out headlines. So here is tonight's breaking news story. Sex positive leather pansexual Elimination Onyx and Onyx Deep South have just announced that they are opening Wilton Manors and the world's first ever leather amusement park and playground. The new park and playground will feature a variety of thrilling, kinky, and hard rides, live leather demonstration shows, and an adults-only sex-positive playground. But what is the name of this new leather amusement park and playground, you kiki humans may be asking? Well, finish today's headline. Elimination Onyx and Onyx Deep South have just announced they are opening Wilton Manors and the world's first ever leather amusement park and adults-only sex-positive playground. The name of this theme park is called Blank. So, all right, so everybody go ahead and get your markers and your papers writing. Let's see what this kinky human new theme park is going to be called. All right, raise your hands when you guys are done and we'll know to call on you.
and paddling to all those who don't give a good answer.
And remember, elimination is going to choose the top
We changed my answer.
I'm gonna fucking do a bad answer just so I can get spanked, bro.
Woo, I love it. Yeah, it's a spank all around.
Regardless, elimination's got plenty of paddle for everyone, so don't worry. Don't worry.
I got paddles and paddles and paddles. Oh my!
All right, so I think Ty wants to get that first paddle, so let's go ahead and let's go to Ty. So Ty, why don't you tell us what this new
Elimination,
kinky
I know what
amusement
you're
park
calling
is?
it. You're calling it the PP. I know that's what you're calling it.
And for those possible non-kinky humans at home, would you like to explain about the PP?
No.
Ty's like, that's all. That's all. All right. Randy Boone looks excited. What is the name of this first leather amusement park and playground called?
DP. That's why I was cracking up as soon as Ty showed his. I was like, oh.
I see the commercial now. Welcome to the Deep P Amusement Park and Playground. All right, Houston, tell us, what's the name of this first leather theme park and playground called?
So check it out, friends. Come through, and they got like amazing rides. One of the rides is the airboat, and they use avgas. And this park is known as avgas for that gay ass head. Come get this ride. Come get this ride.
Welcome to the avgas for gay ass
Got you.
amusement park. All right, Rossaroni, give it to us.
I put penis and butthead.
All right, so welcome to the Penis and Butthead Amusement Park and Playground. All right, we got some good choices.
Move.
All right, the Queen, Taisha, what you got for us?
The queen.
I put welcome to the world of
Wait, can we see the spelling of that? Welcome to the world of
It'd be really unfortunate if one of the rides has a song that goes, "It's a small world."
So before we choose a winner, elimination, tell us what would you call your theme park, and then choose one of our lovely hosts here who's the winner. So what would you call this first ever kinky human amusement park and adult only playground?
So what would I call the kinky amusement park and playground? It would be the Black Knights of the Ups and the Downs.
Ooh.
Oh, damn. Okay.
However,
so elimination, is there a nighttime show at this park?
there is a nighttime show because the freaks come out at night.
Okay.
And all are welcome.
Randy's intrigued. He's jumping up and down. All right. So
I'm ready.
out of all of our hosts, who is the winner? Which title would you choose as the best title?
So, David, I know you're not going to like this, but being that it is about unity and Black History Month and community, this is what we're going to do, so I can spank everybody. We're going to do the deep PP with rides as the AB gas for your ass, the I's and the O's, and Rossaroni's rides. So you're gonna have rides and names all in one.
It's like Rossaroni is the ride.
It's just me. I'm just sitting there on a conveyor.
Because we gotta have penis and butt. You gotta have it. You gotta have it. And you know, regardless of our body sexuality, we don't have it all. Everyone is welcome. Let's come. However you identify, let's go. Let's go. Let's go.
Let's all come together.
Just come.
And elimination, is there a ride in particular you would want to try first in this amusement park of yours?
Oh, I like the wetness, the water rides. Anything with moist and wetness. What are you talking about?
That sounds like Houston's ride. You got that airboat, you know.
Yeah,
let me see it. Squirt. What a ride.
Team by Selena.
Oh, I think Amber and Corey are back. Have we made contact? Amber, Corey? No? Yes?
Nope.
Damn it.
Hey,
Well, we love them.
Yeah, but they're so beautiful.
Let's give a round of applause for how beautiful Amber and Corey are.
They tried so hard. Y'all are gonna. Y'all should bring up your.
I I hear you, Corey. Okay, Corey, real quick. If Elimination opens the world's first leather amusement park and playground, what would you call it? And no. No?
The real man's playground.
What's up, Esther?
Come in leather.
Come in leather. Yes.
Come here.
Brilliant.
I'm gonna eat my summer
That's
pass.
incredible. He wants money for that.
I will spend money on that. I will spend money on that. I'm here for it.
All right, so repeat again for the audience. What was it? I heard come in leather, I think?
Yeah.
Come in leather, all right.
Letter do what?
Randy was shaking it a little bit. All right, well, we're so happy to see Amber and Corey actually moving and smiling and all that. All right, so round of applause, everyone, for our happening out headlines and for our special guest host tonight, technical difficulties. All right, one of those nights. All right, well, let's hope we don't have a difficulty with this next segment here. It's time to get our LGBTQ community members involved in the conversation tonight here on Gay Town Hall as they submit their videos to ask a live question of the day. So every week, a surprise question is submitted, specifically chosen for and directed towards the lead host to answer. The person who submitted the video question will then appear as a special guest host to be invited on and participate in a future episode of Gay Town Hall. This week's live video question of the day comes from a very special guest chosen for Elimination. So, Elimination. He is a retired registered nurse as well as a director of nursing for an addiction care center after 14 years of practice. Prior to nursing, he spent 20 years in the Army where he commanded troops, taught tactics, and retired as an inspector general at Fort Knox, Kentucky, and spent 15 years in government contracting with a short stint in monastic life. He is now the current sergeant of arms for Onyx Deep South. So let's hear this week's live question of the day video from Catalyst Onyx.
Welcome.
All right. And this is for Elimination.
I'm too surprised. Y'all got me. Y'all surprised me.
I'm Catalyst Onyx, originally from New York City, but now living here in Wilson Manors. My question is for Elimination, my brother. Racism, unfortunately, continues to be prevalent here in South Florida, be it intentional or not. The fabric of our inclusivity is tattered. Local businesses benefit from our presence and our patronage. We are now in Black History Month, the shortest month of the year, of course. That being said, I have a two-part question. The first part is, in what way can local businesses demonstrate a recognition of Black culture and contribution to the life and liberty here in South Florida? The second part is, in what manner can local businesses continue to reach out to the Black gay community year-round and during this special month? Thank you.
David, you got it.
Hey, I got to get the right question. Let's give it up for Catalyst Onyx, everyone. All right. All right. He had a two-part question for you. So how do you want to answer? Go ahead. Go for it.
And to our viewers, that was totally spontaneous. I had no idea. I had not talked to Catalyst. Had no idea he was coming on. So David and Catalyst, you got me. So what can our community do? Yes, our community, as much as they say that we are united and very much together, it very much doesn't show. And it's clear that it doesn't show. So how can they stand up for us, especially during Black History Month? How about at least, if not one night, if not a couple nights, have a night where you highlight Black entertainers in this community? How about you have a night where you don't push us into a small room and say, this is the Black night, here's your room? How about you make that mainstream? How about you have a night where you identify a charity? You identify someone who's struggling and make that night just for them in that community, in our community, because at the end of the day, there are so many Black performers who don't get a chance to perform because you don't want to book them, you don't know about them, and you only want to stick to what you feel your community will sponsor. And that's not fair, because the talent that most of our community, our performers have learned from, where's those Black performers and those Black divas that Amber and them mentioned, and those individuals who broke their back for a moment of stardom? And how can we continue this? By not making us go to the back room. Rosa Parks sat in the front for a reason. So we didn't have to go back to that back anymore. So stop pushing us to a black room. Stop pushing us to a black only night. And hire more bartenders that look like me. Hire more people who want to work in this community. And if you say they're not applying, go to the bartender schools, advertise there. I bet you can find someone. So when you're looking at your staff, it's your staff diversity. If they're not, then that's the problem. One, look at your advertising, look at your marketing. If your marketing only look brown during February, that's your problem. And as us as a community, we have to hold them accountable, because they don't invite me to your party and don't have anyone on your advertisement that look like me.
Ooh.
Yes, tell it, brother. Tell it.
Can we get a glass of water after that? Woo! All right.
So, I mean,
Dr. Ty, thank you, Dr. Ty.
Yes.
Huge round of applause for Catalyst Onyx. I had to keep it top secret. It's hard trying to get these special questions. So thank you so much, Elimination. I hope you appreciated our live question of the day.
You got me.
All right. So with that said, we're moving on to topic number 2. So topic number 2 is our business and political topic, and this is about the power of voice, marches, movements, and mobs. And with that, I'm going to let Elimination kind of take us through topic number 2.
So I just want to be clear that anyone, please join in the comment section. Please let your voice be heard. Again, this is about the power of voice. And if you know someone who needs to hear this, please invite them and share this. Become friends with any of us on the host. Your voice matters. So I want to talk about marches, movements, and mobs and the power of voice. And you may say, well, we've been hearing a lot about that lately. But let's dive into it as it relates to Black History Month. Irrational mobs are nothing new to this country. There have been places of groups of individuals who stormed into spaces that they did not belong in. Spaces such as homes, parks, government buildings, police stations throughout history. This is nothing new. So while supremacist and extremist mobs are nothing new, I asked the world, why are you all surprised? Why is there a big crackdown all of a sudden to now say, hey, this is something new, we now must prosecute? Let's go back a second. Mobs have been removing Black humans from the inception. Let me say that again. Mobs have been removing Black humans from its inception. You're not sure about that? Let's talk about Wilmington, North Carolina in 1898. Let's talk about Roseville, Florida. Let's talk about the Tulsa riots. Let's talk about the church bombings. Let's talk about the bombings of the Jewish Center in Pittsburgh. I can go on and on and on and on and on, but I know I don't want to bore you with that. But I really want to know what in the world has changed to make you realize that this is a problem. Now, if you need some context, let me give you some more. So, in the movement for Black lives, in the movement for the slavery or the rescue of slavery, Black folks have marched. We have wrote letters. We have did sit-ins. We've done fastings. No policemen killed. No buildings burnt. No resurrection. No incitement. Why is it that we're able to do that? Oh, hold on. 1 million men marched to the Capitol. No buildings were broken into. So I ask you, what is the difference here, and why do we have mobs versus marches versus movements, and how do we ensure that this doesn't happen again? Because I say to you this, the same script, just different cast. They're repeating what they know. How do we change that? Cast members, I want to hear from you.
All right. So this is a very deep topic. So, specifically with me when I was talking with Elimination, there's the ideas of they're different words and they all are done in different ways. There's rallies, there's movements, revolutions, there's protests, riots, marches, mobs. They all are about getting your voice to be heard when words are not enough, and it's about showing your presence. So what is everyone's thoughts on that from a Black history perspective, from a Hispanic, Indigenous perspective, from LGBTQ perspective?
Like from all those perspectives, like our language counts. What are the words that we're using to describe our power, our magic, our queerness, our like amazing capacity to build community as gay people? Like our language counts. And when my brother talks about like marches, mobs, and movements, like I'm reminded like how we embrace our Seminole tribe here in Florida, our Two-Spirit people here in Florida, and like we set the terms by using the language that counts. Like we embrace our family. And so like everything from Malcolm X to Alice Walker, the language counts. So sing your joy.
Sing your joy.
I feel like the triple M's are necessary. It seems like sometimes just a regular simple word or simple sentence is not enough. people, we need the triple M's, the march, the movement, the mobs or whatnot to really get to some people's head to really do what's right, because sometimes it's not enough to what we're saying, to what we're trying to get to or tell to the world. And the marches, the movements, and the mobs are the only way to get people's attention. So I feel like it's really necessary.
You know, I think considering that we were made immobile when we were snatched from our homes, stuck on those ships and shackled and not able to move, I think we have every right to mobilize now and forever to shout for justice and to shout down injustice. So, you know, for all of those who have the privilege to feel uncomfortable with watching other marginalized people being oppressed, that just shows how out of touch you are with reality and the bubble that you live in. If you find that you are more upset about the fact that your life has been disrupted than the deaths and the risings of the oppression and the violence towards Black and brown people and trans people, then you are essentially part of the problem. So, you know, keep mobilizing, keep using your voice. You know, I have been doing a lot of writings. I remember when I was quiet as a mouse sitting on a wall, didn't think my voice mattered. And, you know, my voice is my soul, and I should have the ability to sing my soul in a way that affirms and validates the freedoms that I deserve as a human person and citizen of this country. But even if you aren't a citizen of this country, there should never be any kind of excuse that children should be immobilized from their parents and taken away from their families as a way to punish someone who was seeking freedom from oppression from a different country. If we keep saying we're the land of the free and home of the brave, then especially white people should be brave enough to extend their hand and pull up the oppressed people that they keep stomping on.
Amen.
Sing it.
All right, let's get some other thoughts in here. Our professor.
So I was sort of looking at I like the idea of the three terms, the marches, the movements, and the mobs, because each of them has a different meaning, and it depends on who uses it and when they use it, right? So a movement is, in my mind, a progressive thing. So when you join a movement, you join something that is trying to achieve progress. If you're joining a march, that can be a little more in the middle. Like, it's not necessarily a movement, but it might not also be working towards progress, although the people that are marching believe it does. The mob is the word that's going to be used to describe something that people don't like. So we're going to have more people calling groups of people of color a mob, because that's how we need to control their, not obviously, you know, I'm not saying that we should do this, but that's how we control their concerns and the things that they're protesting. We call it a mob so we don't have to pay attention to it, because a mob is not good. But if we change our language and we say that this Black Lives Matter protest is not a mob of people, but it's a people coming together in a movement, now we have something that we can say is a positive thing and something that's going to help us progress as a society. So words matter, and the label that we put to these things also informs how we respond to them, both inside and outside of a brown, Black, or white.
Do you feel that certain words are applied to certain groups of people? Like, for instance, you know, like the word protest seems to always be used a lot with the LGBTQ community. You know, we're going on protest, we're doing a parade. Technically, the Capitol Hill, they called it a mob, or a takeover, so to speak.
Insurrection.
Yeah, like, do you think certain words tend to apply to certain groups?
Yes, that's how the dominant culture, or the meta narrative, is controlling how we view groups of people. We're going to call it a mob because we don't like it.
What about flash mobs?
Yeah.
Well, flash mobs are different. You add the word flash in front of it, which means Brandy's taking off his
That's
clothes.
exactly kind of to Ty's point where I was my thought process was, because I really wanted to kind of get to an understanding of why all of a sudden the word mob now is negative in this scenario, when that same mob mindset was okay when they were going into a police station, snatching a body, to go and hang. And let me also be clear about this too. And what Ty mentioned earlier about the female part in all of this. Let's not forget that when those people were swinging and when those people were being chased out of their homes, there was men and women there. It wasn't just the men. So let's forget about that sleep. Let's not forget about that sleeping person that contributes to the whole part of the problem, the whole totality of that. And how does peaceful marching create a movement? Because it's all part of the same. It's in which the tactics that are used. And what I want us to understand is that why it seems that predominantly these people utilize this kind of anger to cause a change, or they feel that anger damaging causes a change. And when Black Lives Matter, when people only focused on the target, but realizing that the lessons that we were learned, the lesson that was taught, came from the person who complained about it. Why is there a double standard? Or is there a double standard? Or should there be a double standard?
So let me bring in, so Rossaroni, what's your thoughts on this idea with identifying the words? Is there a double standard when it comes to these things? And I also want to ask, do you feel, even if people meet peacefully, should we continue to have marches and protests and parades, or is just having a conversation enough?
Tell them, bro.
You know, it depends. It's I want to think it's kind of a gray area, because I'm all about being peaceful protests and everything, but you know, like, I think one of the quickest, more efficient things that happened was the Stonewall riots. You know, people were throwing stuff and getting kind of violent there, but at least they got some stuff done. So, I'm on the fence about that. You know, I'm very much a peaceful person, but to quote a comedian, she said, if you don't like war, happy 4th of July. You know, like, in the end, someone's going to get offended.
Well said.
That was Eliza Schlesinger. If you ever get a chance to watch her, she's hysterical.
Yeah, and before I turn it over to Elimination to kind of wrap up, I mean, me and him were talking earlier today, and, you know, there's so many different, it's something that's gone through history all the time. You know, there's the Martin Luther King Jr. March in Washington, Malcolm X during the Civil Rights Movement, the 1995 Million Man March, Black Lives Matter movement, which is recently, the LGBTQI, you know, the Stonewall riots, the marriage equality movement, Pride protests, the parades, you know, back in the day, revolutions in Cuba, rebellions. Like, there's all these different movements that happen over and over and over and over. So Elimination, I guess the question is, do these things need to continue happening, or if people can be peaceful and just have a conversation and reach hands across the table, should these go away? Your final thoughts.
So I think that they do need to continue. But what I ask that as they continue is the same words that are used and the same reconciliation that are used globally. So as oppressed people begin to demand their freedom and demand their equality, and they begin to act like the oppressor, they are not treated any different than the oppressor, because that's when the double standard happens. And so I just asked America to look at themselves and think about, are you only mad that this group of individuals went into your capital and was trying to slay your white congressmen, your white people who you put in power, because the president was never in jeopardy. He never left. And there was only about 55 black senators and congressmen in general. So they really wasn't coming after us. They were coming after your leader. So are you mad? Are you mad about that? Or is it just because when black folks decide that we've had enough and Target want my money, but Target is not saying your life matters and I need to eat today and I'm going in. So America, and what we have to do together is say, how do we support that? How do we collect that? And so that it looks the same for everyone.
All right. Yeah. Did we also say Elimination was a preacher? I mean, look at him. And where's Darrell? Where's Darrell?
We didn't even get into how the Trump people came into Wilton Manors and stormed Wilton Manors, and how all the gay folks were really upset and angry about that, but never said, well, when they go into black spaces, we're not going to get upset because that's not our space. Community, stand up for each other if you want me to stand up for you.
All right. Well said. All right. So that concludes on our topic number 2, and moving right along. So the one who has the big B in her name is texting me. We've tried 20 times and they can't get it. They can't get it up and they can't get it on. But
it happens to every man.
In Rosselloni's voice, the show must go on. All right, so who likes the big D here? Who likes the big D? Who likes the big D? All right. Anyone? All right. Well, think of this next segment as our gay Mortal Kombat battle of size versus matter, facts versus fake news, and lead host versus host. This is our one-on-one discussion or debate out of the virtual room for our next segment that we like to call the Big D. Now, I don't know if Elimination knows anything about the Big D.
I got one.
But my senses say otherwise. So our lead host is going to get up to 5 uninterrupted minutes to discuss and/or debate a specific topic with another Gay Town hall host. But ultimately, they must make a decision on their answer choice and explain why. And tonight is a very difficult one. So afterwards, we're going to invite the host back into the room, and then they'll be able to weigh in their final thoughts on what the Big D host stated. So our Big D tonight is going to be with sex-positive, leather pansexual elimination Onyx versus our queer community builder, Taisha Best. Yeah. So to celebrate African American and Black History Month, I wanted to highlight the African American artists who have influenced music. But a complete list would have hundreds of names on it, but the selection has been narrowed down to 12 favorites. Each of these artists have played a profound role in shaping the world of music. All right, host, so now we're going to go ahead and clear out the room. You guys will wait backstage, and then we're going to bring you in to weigh in, and this is going to be a real difficult one. I know Taisha going to be like, really? You're going to do this to us? All right, so let me go ahead and get the screen shared. Give me 1 second. All right. Let's go ahead and put.
And in America, let's be clear, neither Taisha nor I have seen these 12 topics, so I'm excited.
Yes.
I'm hoping that my music degree will save my ass today.
I'm hoping that my brain will, because I'm a little old, so we'll see how this goes.
All right. So remember, you guys are going to have to choose option 1 or option 2 and explain why briefly, and then we're going to move through the slides, and then we'll bring everybody back into the room. So with that said, enjoy the Big D and have a great conversation.
Okay. We're gonna have.
We're gonna go. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go.
Who?
Ooh.
No. You are so. God. Why would you put them together?
That is so hurtful. So I think that's gonna be hard, but I'm gonna go with Ella. Ella, because of her being powerful, her overcoming of suppression, her being a Black woman in a man's only space. Ella from her ties to Baltimore. Ella because of just her longevity in the business and her ability to be a Black woman in a male white world.
Yeah, I would honestly have to say Ella as well, because she definitely had it harder in the jazz scene than most. Also, she went to jail for intentionally showing up to white audiences to perform and winning mixed audiences. She did have help from other white women jazz singers, but she definitely held her own. And Ella Fitzgerald.
That was an iconic woman who stood by her, I believe, that said, she wasn't going to support. She came, but Marilyn Monroe, I think it was, that came to see her perform. And they said, I'm not going to come and support your club. And she came night after night until they decided to break that color line. So absolutely, let's go for Ella. Whoa, wait a minute. Why are you keep doing this?
What the hell? No.
Go, Taisha. I'll let you go first this time.
I don't know. They're both amazing. I don't want to choose between the two. David, you're fired.
Yes.
So I would have to say Ray Charles for his persistence in overcoming any sort of hurdle that was thrown against him. Him being blind didn't prevent him from creating some of the most magical game-changing music experiences that we have. He has a biopic and documentary about him. He was just inspirational, and I had to describe kind of what his music was emotionally. It would be joy. I think it's different from happiness. Whenever I listen to Ray Charles music, I can sit there and smile the entire time and be removed from reality in a way that keeps me elated. You know, it's and the timbre of his voice also just allowed for me to just, it felt like someone was doing a bedtime singing song to me just as I laid down. I don't know, it just, his music was very nurturing. His music was very nurturing.
Although I have a connection to Ray Charles, because I have a brother who just recently passed from COVID, who is blind, and he did the same Ray Charles trick. Like he would tell a girl, "I can only see if I touch you, hug you, and lift you up." However, I'm going to stick with Billie Holiday again, another Baltimore girl, but Billie kind of went through the masses, and Billie kind of stood up and protested, and I think both of them had that protesting. But Billie's "Strange Fruit," that song right there, touched me, because again, seeing black bodies hang from trees spoke to me, because that was truly the essence of our history. Additionally, her and her sex positive, her ability to go through to be her sexual self, her overcoming of drugs, I wasn't finished, but yes, all right, my turn. Aretha Franklin all day. Aretha Franklin supported the Black Lives Movement. Before that was the Black Lives Movement, and she did it quietly, she did it subtly, and she did it amazingly. She supported MLK, she supported the marches, she got him out of jail, she did that bond, and she made sure that when she performed, that money went there, and she made sure that black folks got their due.
Yeah, I think Aretha Franklin took her music and empowered the Black movement so exponentially when it came to activism. Her music was activism more than a lot of other Black artists. I enjoyed her attitude. She's one of those Black singers that when you walked in the room, you knew not to fuck with her.
And she's empowering. Wasn't she so empowering?
Yeah, she was infectious. Her music led to an infectious kind of spirit when it came to activism. It wasn't like you could sit in your seat and remain in your seat upon listening to her music. It was her music inspired you to stand and walk. And that is what a lot of Black activists did. And not only did she sing it through her music, she did it physically by supporting those activists.
Go ahead.
No, I don't want to go first.
So I'm gonna go with I love Jimmy. I love the prisoners. I love that. But James Brown had the strength, the tenacity to overcome, to achieve. He had so many hurdles to outdo and to live. You know, he came. You know, his problem with his family, his problem with his mom. He came through a time where when you had to fend for yourself, and although they had a tumultuous relationship, he still took care of. And I look at the fact that he brought together, he had a level of activism too, unlike any other, because he wanted to inspire, to be proud of our color. He wanted the world to know, and he got the world singing, whether you were Black or not, to be Black and be proud. And one of the things that sticks out to me for James Brown is the night that Martin died. He performed and he went on stage and he calmed down the masses. He says he told that city that he was performing in, do not riot, do not tear the city down, because that's not what we need. And so for me in this competition right here, it's all about James Brown. His music lives on today, and he's inspired and sampled by many, and he continues to do what he does.
Yeah. Okay. I'm glad I didn't have to vote on that one. I'm gonna go with no, I'm not gonna vote. No, keep it moving. I am gonna vote for no. David, you're fired. I was gonna say Jimi Hendrix, because he was one of the iconic and archetypes of rock music for Black people, especially since Black people created rock music anyways, but I digress.
Amen.
Okay, so Stevie Wonder is always gonna be my jam. He's always gonna be my guy. Yes, Prince did a lot of stuff too, but Stevie Wonder also created a lot of game-changing music, and he was part of that era that allowed for Black people to enjoy love and enjoy intimacy. I think his music is very intimate. I think his music inspired intimacy. And yes, Prince inspired a lot of sexual exploration. I have to give it to Stevie Wonder. I think he was more influential in the industry.
I agree. I think although Prince, Get Off, 69 Positions in One Night Stand is my favorite song. However, Stevie Wonder came from the element of being both of them being young prodigies, but Stevie Wonder came up with a time where being blind, being Black, and being poor was just not one of those things that can make him successful. And I think about the world, his song as the world, he spoke, his words empowered us, but he spoke to everyone. And then in the midst of everything, he still was able to perform his magic to the masses and get the build that unity. Dr. Dre and Beyonce. Really, sir? Really? David, you are so fired. You are so fired.
Oh, killing me softly. I'm gonna go with Beyonce. Oh, I'm gonna be a fan of her. She creates iconography, period. I know Dr. Dre does too, but when a Black woman busts through and creates the iconography, stirring up the entire Black community, she created her dynasty. She literally built buildings to create her dynasty. She would create these video movies of her albums, of which she set the tone for that. Other people followed her after that. I feel like Beyonce is a community builder. I think Dr. Dre expanded the music industry, especially in electronic, but Beyonce has gone above and beyond that and has been a great representation about Black women, and especially how Black women are the creators and the innovators of the community and the community builders themselves.
I think this is a situation where if both of them ran, they could either be president, vice president, president, or whatever. I love that Ross said that she owes him $50. But in this, they both are amazing for their own reasons. But I do agree with you that Beyonce has a movement of environment, of supporting community. I think Dr. Dre came up in a time to build up where the street people from the hood could be something, and he poured back into his community, although he was crazy in his social life. But I give it down to both. At the end of the day, Beyonce is inspiring and molding a generation today, and her works will continue to inspire and mold, because she will teach young Black women and young Black people in general and folks that you can be your unapologetic, crazy Sasha Fierce self, and you can embody that no matter what you look like, and take that persona and revolutionize music as it is.
Yeah.
No, I heard you all love me so much.
The first beyond what we can say.
And you know what? I was surprised that you didn't go back a few decades. I still am of the belief that the late 60s to the mid 70s was the best year for Black art. So that's talking about Tower of Power, Diana Ross, Earth, Wind, and Fire. Like, that was the era that I would have definitely enjoyed, because that is my forte.
No, this was actually a study that was just done in 2020, and they said there was hundreds of artists on the list, like a Diana Ross and Tina Turner. However, when they had to look at summarizing it in 12, each one of these 12 represented a different aspect that other artists also embrace, but that's why they narrowed it down to these 12. And then, of course, they pitted them against each other to make it even harder for you guys. So you're welcome. So we brought everyone else back into the room. Let's see what everybody overall says. So the most iconic and influential Black artist to you. So Louis Armstrong versus Ella Fitzgerald.
I want to say Ella. I loved her version of Rent the Summertime.
So both very famous jazz musicians. Ella was known as the First Lady of Song, the Queen of Jazz. Louis Armstrong obviously is, known for What a Wonderful World.
He was multi-talented. I'm going to give credit to Louis Armstrong. He was multi-talented. He was great on the trumpet, but he had a voice of a voice of a voice when it came to singing as well. And this man was, again, a jack of all trades. So
Billie Holiday versus Ray Charles.
Don't make me choose.
I don't even.
Billie Holiday, popular during the Harlem nightclubs, the Harlem Renaissance. Ray Charles, gospel, country, R&B.
I might say Ray.
He was voted number 10.
I love how happy he was whenever he sang.
He was voted number 10 as on Rolling Stone for the greatest artist of all time.
Yeah, I'm all Ray Charles, but Billie Holiday did make an obscenely large amount of difference, but also Ray Charles was
gone too soon, a victim of that unfortunately the era of drugs and sobering your pain and hiding who you are to eliminate your pain through the drugs and alcohol to overcome, to keep pushing yourself.
All right, Aretha Franklin, the Queen versus the King.
Aretha.
I mean, it just depends. An academic, again, if you push
Queen
it
of Soul,
academically,
King of Blues.
Yeah, I was going to say, if you approach it academically, they both in their own right can stand at the #1 position on a podium. But if you're thinking of it, you know, in terms of popularity, as in terms of people who remember the person, everyone's going to remember Aretha Franklin more just because she was on TV more, she was more publicized more. But B.B. King's music also influenced the genre that he participated in. His guitar solos were fucking brilliant. So.
Put them on stage and make them fight each other.
And
are we giving the seal of approval on these answers? Are we giving the seal of approval?
I mean,
Ty, where are you at, Dr. Ty?
Ty's like, I don't want to choose.
I'm here. I was muted. I didn't realize I was muted. Sorry.
Oh, we were trying to see. We were trying to see if we had your seal of approval. All right, Jimmy versus James. Taisha, pick.
No, I picked James Brown. I mean, Jimi Hendrix did open up Woodstock. Damn. I mean, whoever was there, you're welcome.
the greatest guitarist of all time versus the greatest sex machine.
James Brown.
That's right.
Also known as the Godfather of Soul.
I feel like James Brown because he kind of like, if you listen to him, it's like he's like eating you.
Yeah, I would say, you know, I would say he is the Godfather of Soul, and he did build the rubric of which everyone else built on top of in terms of soul. Again, he was part of that era that is my favorite era. Stephen Houghton says, what about Miss Ross? Miss Ross was also part of that era. So James Brown, Diana Ross,
the Marvin Gaye's, the Marvin Gaye. That's what I forget about that.
Miss Ross made the top 100, but she wasn't in the top 12. All right, what about Mrs. Prince?
Oh, what about Leontine Price?
Stevie Wonder.
Nobody knows who that is.
Considered one of America's greatest living singer-songwriters and producers with Superstition. And, of course, the iconic Prince, known for his one-of-a-kind voice.
I'm going to say Stevie Wonder. I've listened. Growing up listening to more Stevie Wonder than Prince. However, Purple Rain is one of my karaoke jams.
I think I wanted to walk in the world and see the world. I would I think if I wanted to have sex, the playlist that I would play would be Prince. If I wanted to leave my bedroom, my playlist would immediately switch to Stevie Wonder.
Well said. All right.
That's as best as I can explain it.
Robert says definitely. All right, final one. Dr. Dre versus Beyonce.
Next, please.
Now, Dr. Dre is very well known. Producer, rapper, songwriter, executive, entrepreneur, the pioneer of hip hop, as they call him. Beyonce, the queen. I mean, how else would you describe her? But who would you pick?
Beyonce.
I admittedly do not know who Dr. Dre is. I'm sorry, kids.
He was also a movie producer. Let's not forget a movie producer as well.
Yeah.
He contributed to that.
He rose to fame in NWA in the 1990s. He is a music innovator, as he calls them. I mean, they're both, again, very iconic.
So and another reason why I picked Beyonce over Dr. Dre is Dr. Dre isn't into leaving a legacy for his family and his children. He's had issues recently and been in the news for not supporting his kids financially and culturally. Beyonce had her daughter being executive producer and being nominated for things
absolutely no,
30-year-olds get nominated for, you know. So when you talk about leaving a legacy, both in terms of leaving a legacy to the world and also leaving a legacy to your family, I have to always go with Beyonce.
What are we putting in the world?
Should have been Dr. Dre versus Russell Simmons.
That's a good one, Stephanie. I agree.
Oh, that would have been better.
You know, speaking of like representation, though, like where was the opera world? Like we had plenty of opera singers. We could have had Leontine Price.
There was 100 people on the list. These were the top 12, and they all were chosen for a specific thing that they covered. So, all right. Woo! I hope Taisha and Elimination still love me after that. I know it was going to be all right, with that said, we're at our final topic of the night. This is going to be our roundtable discussion, so we're going to zip through this real quick, real fast. We're only going to take just one and only 1 minute to talk about our final topic of the night. So this is our personal story or experience topic, and it's about the power of touch. What does being the first mean? And Elimination, take us through our final topic of the night.
So I'm gonna take us through it if you don't mind, and then hopefully I'll yield to my colleagues to give theirs, and then I'll finish mine at the end. So the reason I thought about the power of touch, what does it feel like being the first? So Dr. Ty mentioned earlier about the first, the people project being the first person being recently just today being confirmed by our vice president. But I also want inside the White House, but I also want you some Black history facts. Let us not forget about Keith Boykin, who was the special assistant, the president of director of specialty media, and for President Clinton. So we've had gay folks inside the White House who've been openly gay, just may not have gotten the recognition that they deserve. So shout out to Keith Boykin, a Black man who lived his LGBT life officially. But when you are the first, it brings a lot of pressure. Being the first means that you got to hold that weight because so many people are looking at you. So many people want to follow in your shoes. And if you are not successful being the first, then others feel like they cannot join in. And then you give people reason why there should never be another. And so being the first is hard work. And we have to ask ourselves, why in 2021 are we still having that label of being the first? For example, we just, in our gay world, we mentioned that, Pete Buttigieg, but how about the first Black trans man to have a TV show? Brian Michael Smith. Come on now. Why is he just the first to have his own a series? He's a TV hero. Why, consecutively have his own show, being the first? So I asked you, think about a time where you had to be the first, where you had to be a trendsetter for the rest to follow. Colleagues, what say you?
All right. So
it's very difficult, like when you're dealing with the first. That's why I only sleep with sluts.
Well, everyone loves the first, but Ty, so we are going to go ahead and do this roundtable style. Everyone's going to get 1 minute before I ring the bell. So Ty, talk to us about how important is it, the concept of a first, and do you remember something in your life as being the first or trendsetter that you were very proud of?
Well, obviously, I've never been a trendsetter. But no, the first is very important when you're the first at something, and it's important that we recognize all of the people who are first at doing something new and something groundbreaking for us. And I think Elimination's insistence that we go back and that we remember our brothers and sisters of color and our LGBTQ folks who really were living their truth and living their life in an open way before we started labeling all of these firsts. These are the people that we need to look to and celebrate as well.
That's right.
All right, let's move around. Randy, next up at the table.
Hello, Randy.
The first, I feel like it takes confidence and courage to be the first at something. So it feels it's something that we should all, like a lot of people, look up to. Like, let's say if you want to get to the next level, you'd have to be, if you were the first one to do that, people would be like, oh, wow, he's the first one. So you're kind of like the trendsetter. So you kind of leave that footprints for others to follow you to get to that. So it's kind of like being a role model, basically. So I think
that's right.
But yeah.
Do you have anything that you're proud of that you felt that you were the first or a trendsetter in your life?
I don't know. I guess it's more like I was proud to be, I guess, the Asian in my elementary school because I was bullied and I stood up against bullying. And
yes.
I guess,
Yes.
I guess that was the only thing I'm proud of, I guess, for now.
Yes.
What about your music career? Do you feel you're a trendsetter?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, right now I'm still working on it. It's still in progress. So I feel like it still needs a lot of work, but I'm learning my way as I get there.
All right, Houston, you're up. Talk to us about being a first or a trendsetter.
Let me tell you about being a trendsetter. These are two words you got to remember: sovereign erotics. And what that means is stand in your power. Sovereign erotics. Stand in your sovereignty. So when we stand with like Indigenous solidarity, when we stand with Black Lives Matter, like we stand on the progress that our family has made. Let's do it. Let's have a good time. Let's be cute about it, and be like slightly fashionable. Hey.
I love it.
Yeah.
Houston, do you feel in your life that you would consider yourself the first at something or something that you would say that you did it and people followed you? Is there anything
like really, like I feel like I'm happy to stand in your artistic interpretation of the environment. Like how you experience nature is meaningful. So be proud of that shit.
God,
Like,
yes.
show it in your art, show it in your dance, show it in your like selfies, show it in your sexiness. Be proud of who you are. Tell your story.
Yeah.
Amen.
All right, up next, Ross, you're up.
Oh, this is my first time. I've never done this before. How many times I said that?
His nose is too bigger.
But I'm so quick to do the things that I'm doing. Yes, I actually agree with everybody else. Because I feel like if it's your first time, if you were the first to do something, it's almost like you're achieving the unachievable, and making people realize that it's doable, and you're forever immortalized in that role. Whether you are the first opera singer or first person to do a quadruple somersault. My own personal first was, I think, just kind of like the first to change their style according to the family. Like, be like, I don't want to wear collared shirts. I don't want to wear this. I want to wear this. I want to become myself, sort of thing. Coming from a very conservative family, if that makes any sense.
And do you feel by doing that you've become a trendsetter? Do you feel like others will follow you or could potentially follow you?
Oh yeah, for sure. Because I really made that a staple in my life. Like I'm always going to represent myself the way I'm dressed. I'm representing myself, not anybody else.
All right. Aisha, talk to us about first.
I sometimes first being the first can be replaced with being the token. Is a double-edged sword. So for me, when I think about being the first, I also have to be careful about not having my skin color being exploited and weaponized for white people so that they can co-opt the words of diversity and inclusion. So again, if I want to be the first of everything now, as someone who's older, who understands the word Sankofa, which means, reaching back and remembering and taking with you the history, I remember that a lot of times when Black people became the first at something, that they had a support system of other Black people. They had a support system of a Black village that uplifted and held them up while they fought hard in those areas that were either A, dangerous, or B, exclusive. So, sometimes it's great to be the first, and other times it may not be the environment for you to sit in and be a representation of something, because you may be leading other Black and brown people to a place or environment that actually is too toxic or heteronormative for people to exist in. So there also being first comes with a lot of strength and perseverance. Because again, you may be sitting there on your own in that seat at that table for years before other people join you. And it could be that you could be the first to stand up from the table, move away from the table, build another table, and sit down and recreate what the table should have been in the first place.
Taisha's Furniture Store coming to a city near you, everyone. Wigs and tables, everyone. Wigs and tables. So, Taisha, despite opening your first furniture store, do you have any personal first or trends that you think you've done in your life and other people have looked up to you and followed?
Yeah, I have been the first international title holder holding the title of International Honey's Helper, which is someone that represents and advocates for the boot Black community in the kink and leather scene.
Yes.
I've been the first Black committee or board member of several organizations in the kink and leather scene. I've also been, having seats of power in my union, at my job, and it's one thing to sit and be the first person. It's another thing for the population to send feedback to you saying, thank you for representing me as that first person. So again, that also tells me that I am where I should be because the Black people are following me and giving me those compliments and feedback.
And you do so well.
Thanks.
All right, so really quick before I bring Elimination in, we have a few more minutes left on this. So one of the things, Elimination was mentioning, with Mayor Pete. Obviously, he's been in the news a lot saying the first out LGBTQ, as the Secretary of Transportation. Elimination even educated me, and I didn't even know about this, a man named Keith Boykin, He was the first gay black male who served time in the White House as a special assistant to the president and director of specialty media. He was the highest ranking gay person during the Clinton administration. He helped organize the first meeting between gay and lesbian leaders to a U.S. president. So I guess the question is, you know, is it idolized? Is it something that we really should be doing it as a first, or should we just continue to support not just only the people that we label as first, but anybody that is really supporting these ideals and stuff? So anybody that can jump in, or Elimination, you can kind of
so I just wanted to go ahead, Tyson, then I'll let you go ahead.
I was gonna say, yes, we should support people being the first, but also we should dismantle the systems that prevent that keep repeating that cycle of us having to be the first. If you're understanding, like, we shouldn't have to keep being the first at things, and the only reason why we're that way is because the system makes it so hard for equity to happen and diversity to happen. So if we were to, for example, go into businesses code of ethics and see, oh, your hiring practices don't create equity, like you are posting job positions for people that you specifically already want, so you're automatically ruling out probably a lot of Black and brown individuals that would love to interview for that position. But then you turn around and you're like, oh, but a lot of Black and brown people just refuse to apply. And I'm like, yes, because you set white people up to be taking those positions in the first place. So again, you have to start at the foundation and dismantle those foundations that always puts us in the position to always have to be fetishized politically and corporately, to always being that token person that says, oh, I'm diverse.
Damn. You're good. I can say some shit, but like all I gotta do is like really underline what Taisha said. You're a good girl. I love you. Keep speaking.
Yeah. So I was going to.
Well, Ty is cute and sweet too, but go ahead. I
love that. So I was going to just say, you know, the thing is about removing those barriers that makes people continue to be the first. Here we are in 2021. And so for my personal story, being the first, I will give you a professional and a community, because David said, hey, I need to hear some leather and kink stuff. But allow me to give you a kind of thing. When you live a certain length of life, you become seasoned. And let me also shout out that we have a first-time viewer, Mama Vi Johnson. We see you. Thank you for joining us. First-time viewer. But as a professional Black male, I was the first professional Black male in a setting. In an office professional setting, I wore a shirt and tie every single day. But for some reason, I didn't get a key to the office. That my supervisor was often late. I had to sit outside the office and wait to get let in. And
like you were the help.
But I was the help, exactly. But I had the same level of work, but I was like the help. I never got a key professionally. I never got the same situation. And they were often Caucasian, one Caucasian individual, and I would respect his anonymity and not give his name, but he would often come over to me. He often wore a cowboy hat and boots, and he would come over and say, well, how are they treating you? How are they doing for you today? And I used to often ask him, how are they supposed to do me? Like, I don't understand that. So I never understood. And that's the power of being the first. As Taisha mentioned, you take on those roles and those risks and that weight, and that you could be a soldier, and we have to help and nurse and nurse our individuals back to health, so that they can continue to build those footprints. And when I got to a certain level, I reached back to Black nurses, to Black doctors to get that. So let me also talk about the first in the leather and kink lifestyle. That I will share with you. There was not a lot of Black spaces, a lot of welcoming spaces for Black folk, and so that was the birth of Onyx. And for Elimination himself, he left the leather and kink lifestyle because he wasn't very welcome in those white spaces. And I didn't want to be in those spaces, because if you're not going to welcome me there, why should I continue to put harm to myself? So let's fast forward to South Florida. In 25 years, there's only been 3 persons of color to be Mr. Ramrod. Only 1 to go to IML. Think about that weight. And the weight and the labor that it takes, because you want others to follow in their footsteps. And I'm so blessed to say that we have another person of color who is the current Mr. Ramrod. And in the leather scene, if you go through the history of leather, it's very much not Black dominated. It's very much not space where we didn't have a white counterpart. We was not involved or invited to those spaces. So we had to build our own. So sometimes, and that's why I work so hard in this community in South Florida, because I wanted to make sure that my drag siblings are supported, my trans siblings are supported. Because when you are the first Mr. Ramrod that goes out in the community as a Black person, who, when you meet your community and say, well, you're not muscle enough, or you don't have that skin tone, and or how are you going to do at IML? You're not going to represent us. Well, guess what? There's only been 2 of us Well, 3 if you count the first from the Mid-Atlantic. There's only been 3 of us who made top 20. We did that. We did that. And it's because of the tenacity of bringing the community together. So I say to you, if you going to be the first and we see someone that's being the first, take time to listen, take time to nurture, take time to nurse, take time to build them up so that way they aren't just the first. They can now be just that person who now builds the platform and the bridge for so many others to take on that role.
Professional.
All right.
Claiming that power. That's
well said. Well said. All right. We went a few minutes over on that topic, but there was a lot to say about it. So a round of applause for number 3.
Claim it, elimination, claim it.
The power of touch. All right. We come to the end of our show. So now we're going to go ahead and talk about our poll. So who do you guys think pulled through? Get it?
They all pulled through. They're all amazing.
All right. Let's see who pulled through in our poll. Let me pull this up real quick.
I have to pee.
Do it, girl. Do it, girl.
I'm doing it right now.
All right. And number 1 is...
Yeah, that all makes sense.
Martin
Luther King, over 56% of the poll. So
I'm glad people say Frederick Douglass.
Every black leader, every featured has a distinct story and legacy, but they all share some commonalities. Poise and confidence that no doubt added their iconic statuses. Look a little closer at each of these stories to witness their perseverance through oppression and the determination through struggle. There you'll find the link that brings them all together. So, did America get it right, guys? Martin Luther King, over 56%.
I chose Frederick Douglass.
Yeah,
I think so.
I chose either Rosa or Martin, so I went with Rosa.
I think. Good, Randy.
I think Martin Luther King is the only one that's really advertised dearly or really posted everywhere, anywhere you go. So I feel like Martin Luther King would win.
Ty, what did you say, Ty?
But all of them did good.
No, I was with Taisha. I went Frederick Douglass.
So, Houston, what did you go for?
Like MLK, because like he's got the philosophy, but it's also about putting it into action. MLK.
So I think that Martin got it because he was most notable. But I personally voted for Thurgood Marshall because Thurgood Marshall was out in the trenches when it got time for NAACP, and he was that lawyer who went into the Supreme Court as a black man and fought legally many different times to get us where we are today. So let's not forget those foot soldiers that did that work.
Yeah.
All right, so
that was a good choice.
That's why you're a leader. That's why you're a leader.
Real quick, we're going to take you through in honor of Black History Month. We're just going to zip through the top 20 real quick. So these were our honorable mentions in that top 20 list. Maya Angelou.
In honor of Black History Month, we're going to do this as quickly as possible.
I know where you live. Representation and time matters. Yes, Dr. Ty. Yes, Ty. Yes.
In the spirit of the show is at an hour and a half. In the spirit.
And I'm the first one to bitch about time.
All right. All right. Number 19, W.E.B. Du Bois.
Yes, another good one.
Someone get Taisha a glass of water. All right, number 18, Madam C.J. Walker.
Yes.
Oh.
Millionaire, yes.
Do it.
Number 17, Shirley.
Yes, first black woman. Yes, I think
that. Black
Look at that nude lip. Look at that nude lip she has. Look at that.
Natural woman.
Number 16, Ella Baker.
Yes.
Oh, okay. I see that. I can see that.
She was the internet before there was the internet. Because she
don't know.
Got there.
Here comes Harriet Tubman, number 15.
There she is.
Okay.
Hey, girl, hey. She's so happy.
Number 14, Oprah Winfrey.
I'm surprised she wasn't higher, but maybe not.
Abundance, black abundance. I'm here for it.
That is true. That would be her hashtag, black abundance.
Number 13.
I thought it'd be you get a car.
Sidney Poitier.
I thought he would also be high.
Yes.
Yeah.
Black abundance.
Knock that wall down.
Get it.
Number 12, Muhammad Ali. Just missed the top 10.
Stood up. stood up for his cause.
Stood on it.
Oh, is he single?
Sacred.
Number 11, James Baldwin. Just
Yes.
Okay.
Give me them words, brother. Give me them words. Give me them words.
Yes.
All right, so now our top 10. Number 10, Ta-Nehisi Coates.
Excellent book. Excellent
Tell
book.
him I said that shit. Tell him I said it.
Oh, I said it wrong? I'm sorry. My apologies.
Please look at his book, Reparations and Slavery to Now. Read that book.
Best-selling
Yes.
author.
Like right now, like social media. Get it out.
Number 9, Thurgood Marshall.
Okay.
I'm here for it.
Supreme
Wait,
Court
did it just
Justice.
say he argued Brown versus Lefty?
Yes, he did.
Yes.
Get it out the
Yes,
book.
he did.
The first black U.S. Supreme Court.
Supreme Court Justice. He argued many Supreme Court
I
cases.
forgot about that.
Number 8, Nora Zeal Hurston.
Jordan.
Yes.
Yes.
Know your mythology.
My phone
Know
died.
your,
Author.
know your ancestry. Know your
Number
stories.
7, Barack Obama, 44th U.S. president.
Father, it's charged.
It's true.
Hello, Mr. President.
Man, he made it up there. Number 6, Frederick Douglass.
Douglas.
Helped with the equal rights of women.
Yes, he tried to get the black woman into the women's suffrage movement, and they didn't want. They
Number
didn't want
5,
voting.
Afeni Shakar. She was once a Black Panther and one of their leaders.
Our women sustain us. Our women sustain us.
You know, I consider the Black Panther a union. It was one of the greatest upcoming, supposed to be what could have been a union before it was dismantled.
Phyllis Wheatley.
Phyllis Wheatley.
Mm-hmm.
He was also the first one to publish a book of poetry, as well as one of the first women.
Yes.
Get it.
All right, we're at our top 3. Malcolm X.
Okay.
Yes. Read it.
Number 2, Rosa Parks. Mother.
All right.
Yes, Rosa said.
If you're gonna sit in the front.
He's not going anywhere.
If you're gonna sit in the front.
America matches up.
Get your seat.
I have a dream. They matched with Gay Town Hall. America chose Martin Luther King Jr. as the number 1 most influential black leader to date.
I'm ready to put that into action. You joining me?
Woo!
Let's do it.
All right, so there it is, America. We're here at the end of the episode, so now it's time to go around and wish a good night. So let's go ahead and Houston, wish a good night to America.
You know, like from across America, across Turtle Island, I love you. You're my Two-Spirit people. You're my queer people. You're my LGBTQ family. And let's stand up for each other. I love you. Let's do it.
All right, Bassaroni.
This is Ross Cerrone saying, "Please be safe. Suck a dick." That's
Yeah. I'm here for it. Are you offering?
We gotta put Ty after that.
Peace out, bitches. Peace out.
All right, Taisha, good night to America.
Thank you for joining us. Again, if you're going to make a difference, be like Rosa, sit in the front, or be like Martin Luther King, stand tall at the podium.
Stand get it.
All right, and let's give a huge round of applause for our lead host tonight, Elimination Onyx, everyone.
I'll follow you, bro.
I thank you, Mama Vi, again for joining us to the host. I thank you for allowing me to share my thoughts to the world, and welcome to Black History Month. Let's have a great February. I encourage you to reach out to me, Elimination Onyx, on Facebook. My page is Elimination Onyx, Mr. Renrod 2018. Let's have a conversation. You have a question, I'm here for it, because during this month, it's Black History all year long, but during this month, take a time, invite someone to dinner, be kind to someone, stand up to someone whose voice is not being heard, because if you don't, then who will? And if you allow injustice to happen today, you allow injustice to happen tomorrow. And how do we make a change? Happy Black History Month. Love you, Kinky Humans.
You're cute.
Yes.
All right. And with that said, I am your moderator, Social Club Butterfly, David. And again, we wish you a happy Black History Month. Ty, I was not trying to zip through just for the sake of zipping through, but I wanted to show the whole top 20 to show that respect. So with that said, good night, America, and we'll see you next Thursday with David Hopkins, where we will get kinky with leather and all of that good stuff. So have a good night.
See you next week.
Bye,
Hope you
guys.
enjoyed the